Good evening, ladies and gents. This is the Elbows Down MotoGP podcast. Of course, this is the Le Mans, the French Grand Prix review. I'm joined, as always, by Keelin. How are you, mate?
Jim, I am all good. We are coming off a brilliant weekend in France. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. We've talked about hats, we've talked about a whole bunch of different things, and I'm looking forward to getting into the episode. It should be a really good one.
Yeah, everyone, Keelan's had a perm, and it's not gone well, so that's why he's got a cap on. No, he hasn't really.
No,
Yeah,
we
imagine Keelan with
were joking before the episode, folks. I kind of look a bit like a human golf ball, so I'm not going to subject anybody to looking at that.
Yeah. Good thing is how I have this set up at the moment. I can't. I'm looking into a camera, so I can't see Keelan yet. But we'll work on that. But I'm probably glad because right now I'd probably be just laughing at him laughing. So, but yeah, moving on from perms and caps and all that jazz. Um, really enjoyed the Le Mans weekend. And we were just talking about this before we recorded it. I think it's gone up in everyone's sort of favorite races. To be fair, I think
hmm
the crowd have a massive part of that. Because, I mean, Sunday race day, folks, 112,000 people on race day alone. Just brilliant, absolutely fantastic. And I get really involved. I'm not that I wasn't even there at the last weekend, but when there's a bigger crowd, it's just I get more into it. Even if the racing can be more boring sometimes. I can appreciate the event more because it's a bigger crowd there. If that makes any sense. But um, yeah, I think it's got a lot to do with Fabio and Johan. But it was a brilliant weekend. They didn't have the best weekend. Well, they kind of had as good as weekend as both of them could have done. What are your thoughts about this French Grand Prix as a whole, as an attendance and the French contingent last weekend?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like you rightly said, we were talking about this, folks, just before we came on, and I think in the eyes of a lot of people, I actually brought this up. I completely agree with Neil Hodgson of our TNT coverage. Le Mans has jumped up in my estimation so much in the last few years, and a big part of it is the unbelievable French crowd that shows up. I mean, the not just the numbers, but the passion and the
Yeah,
noise and the volume you get from Le Mans. It's matched by actually very few places on the calendar when you actually look at it. So I have to say, Le Mans is very quickly becoming one of my favorite stops on the calendar for that very reason. And this weekend was another sort of string to its bow, sort of building onto it. I thought the crowd was unbelievable. I think we got a record-breaking crowd, was it for a Friday?
yeah, yeah.
I think I may have seen that. I think we got a record-breaking attendance for a Friday session, which was unbelievable. We got two staggeringly good races, and we always get La Marseillaise, which is always great as well. So, yeah, shout out Le Mans, shout out the French people as a whole. They make that event special, and it really is becoming a joy to go to every year. I have to say, I am really becoming a fan of it now.
Oh man, um, I think it's worth going just for the atmosphere from what I've seen. I've been to anything.
I totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, the two races in mainland Europe that I haven't been to yet is Assen and Le Mans. And I I don't know which one to go to yet. Tell you what, folks, let us know in the comments if you've been to both, or if you've been to one, tell me why you should go to that one first, and Keelan as well, because Assen's up there, Le Mans up there. Yeah, it's tough. But you know what's brilliant as well? It's treated as you know, Silverstone tries to create a festival, and they've got it all set up ready for it. It's just there's not enough people to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Whereas every single evening, the start and finish straight is still packed all the way up to like 8, 9 o'clock, I'm told,
Yeah.
because of stunt shows and everything. And you'll get a visit from Fabio every evening on the weekend. Obviously, in the Saturday night, I think for the last 3 or 4 years, he's got his M1 drips in a new livery that will be raced the next day on the Sunday. And the crowd, they're probably tanked up as well, just loving it. And then obviously they'll walk back, they'll get the tram back into the city centre or just stroll back into the absolute manic campsite, which folks have a look at those videos on YouTube. Le Mans MotoGP campsite. I'm sure some of you already know what it's like, but it is bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. That is what looks like, not dangerous, but the most manic campsite on the calendar. My dad and my uncle went in 2024. The only reason I didn't go is because I got my dates mixed up. Sure, my partner always takes the piss out of me for. If I didn't get them mixed up, I'd have gone with the Instead, I went to Catalonia in 24 with her, so that was still a lovely weekend. But I could have gone to Le Mans with her and her. Anyway, um, but yeah, they got the tram every day. It's one of the easiest races to get to for that reason. So yeah, folks, I think that's one thing. If you're gonna get Le Mans tickets, you have to get them. From what I tried to look, and they were pretty much all gone by December the year before. So yeah, and you need to be prepared for shoulder to shoulder, like squeezing into places and queues, which doesn't sound good, but that's why I like the MotoGP is that popular somewhere, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's when you leave Mugello in 2022, after the year after Rossi retired, and you can get straight out onto the road from the car park. It shouldn't be that easy. Do you know what I mean? It shouldn't be that easy to leave Silverstone on a Sunday evening straight after the race with no traffic. It just shouldn't be that easy. It should be a struggle to get out of a race, but it means there's been a lot of people there. It means there's been a lot of passion, and you should stay the Sunday night because it's too hectic to get out onto leave on the Sunday because of the traffic. That's how a Grand Prix should be. Anyway, in terms of numbers, I think we all know that is easily, I think, about 15, 20,000 people more than any of the race day attended, Keelan.
I
I think
think so.
Jerez, I think Jerez is number two, with about 100 or 99,000. I think it was race day this year. Back in obviously today, you had 90,000 in Mugello, and which is creeping back up again. After that, Aston's about 90,000 as well. So yeah, it is up there. Nothing will touch Le Mans for a long time, unless there's like a massive shift in a superstar, which it might happen in coming years. We'll see. But yeah, it's up to Le Mans. Rant over, folks, about that one.
You want to see us go to as a pod, if you've got anywhere you think that
Yes,
you'd like to see us go to, if you want to see us do a live show from one of the races, let us know.
yeah, yeah, and then you'll we'll do clips, and you'll have to see Keelan's sperm. Um, if you follow us on Instagram, by the way, it is elbows down GP on Instagram. And X as well. We don't post as much on X, but we will do. But it's pretty much Instagram. If you are only on Spotify, we of course are on Instagram. We don't really talk about it much on here. We just talk about MotoGP.
Yeah.
Right, on to the racing. Keelan, Aprilia, they've got the money shot now, haven't they? They've got that money shot of 1, 2, 3 on the podium. Just brilliant. And that the pictures they'll have from the Parc Ferme on the slowdown laps and the podium, I'm sure will be in their collection hall very soon, or the lobby in the Wally factory everywhere. Well deserved. I was really happy for the small factory. I mean, what else do you want? That was a brilliant performance by Aguero, which we'll get onto in a second. But how many times do you think we'll see that again this year?
Oh man, it's hard to say how many more we'll see of it, if we see any more of it at all. But what a moment for Aprilia as a manufacturer. I mean, it's incredible the parallel with Ford in their Le Mans campaign in 1966 when they got a 1-2-3 lockout. Aprilia goes to France, they get a 1-2-3 podium lockout in the main race as well. It's such a brilliant, brilliant thing to see. And it's even better marketing and publicity for Aprilia as a brand and as a whole. I mean, we've said countless times in how many episodes now, we think Aprilia has the best package on the grid. And now Aprilia is proving that it is the best package on the grid with maybe the best riders as well. I mean, we'll get into this in a bit more detail, but Jorge Martin looks maybe the best I've ever seen him. I don't know if that's a bold take or not, but in terms of performances, it was among the best I've ever seen of him in the Premier class. Marco Bezzecchi looked brilliant as always, and Iagora was magnificent, Jim. He was
He was.
magnificent across the weekend. He was always thereabouts, always solid, smooth but aggressive in the best way. And boy, oh boy, do Aprilia have an opportunity to do something special this season. It is right there in front of them.
Yeah, it really is. I was superb. It shows you that he had podium pace in Cota in Texas, though, folks, didn't he? I mean, I is running a really, really good wave now of form and confidence. But yeah, Jorge Martin just he could smell a win there. I mean, he was actually quite far back in that race. Obviously, we'll touch on the sprint briefly, just quickly. I mean, the sprint came to him more easily because he got the start of the century, in my opinion. That sprint start was outrageous, and he read where everyone was perfectly before the third turn, I guess. That was exceptional. before the
Yeah.
bridge there and going around the outside. So yeah, hats off to him there. And no, he can control the race from there. And then in the main race, he actually had some very hard work to do. I was looking at the back, like he's flying, but I don't know if he's got enough time. I really don't think he's got enough time, and he did. I mean, I genuinely thought as soon as Bez had the lead, he's going to do that 2026 Bez thing, where if he's in the lead, he controls the gap. But now that obviously Martin's had this time to get up to speed with the Aprilia, and his injury's almost gone. He's showing his true self again. He's absolutely one of the best riders in the world. He's a 2024 world champion. And now that obviously he's on the best bike in the world, he was probably always going to get as good as Bears and start beating Bears. I mean, that's a sprint win and a race win. And he's 1 point behind Bears, so we've got a lot of races to go. And one of his home races coming up next weekend. Jorge Martin is looking good. I want to say about
Yeah.
Aguero, he needs to qualify better. That
Yeah,
frustrated
he
the hell
does.
out of me. That really frustrated me because we don't know what, I mean, ifs and buts mean nothing. It's a bit like Bastianini and Binder. They're well known Sunday men when the bike's working for them and the KTM's not a pig. But they are known Sunday men. And I think Aguero is looking like one of those Sunday men, isn't he? But
Yeah.
also, it'd be great for him if he could qualify a little bit better. Just a smidge, you know. Second row would probably be fine. Just anything, but as far back as that. So yeah, really happy for Jorge Martin. Are we looking now at the new favourite for the championship as we stand?
Um, I think there's a good possibility. Yeah, I do think so because the problem is when you look at the manufacturers, and when I say manufacturers, I mean Aprilia and Ducati. We saw what happened to Marc Marquez, and obviously we'll get onto that in a little bit. And we saw what happened to Pecco. We'll also get onto that in a little bit. The problem is Marc is spearheading the charge for Ducati, and if you don't have Marc fighting at the front, you don't really have any Ducati fighting at the front. And then the problem is when you do get to the front, you've got two absolute savages in Marco Bezzecchi and Jorge Martin who look like they're racing in a different championship to some of the other riders in the grid at the moment because of how good that Aprilia is. So I got to be honest, I certainly wouldn't write anything off yet. We've still got so much of the season to go. But
Yeah.
what we are seeing, Jim, is what we talked about a few episodes ago. Can that Aprilia work on every track in every type of condition in every part of Europe? And right now the answer is yes, it can, because
Oh yeah.
even when it's not winning races, it's getting podiums, it's getting fourth, fifth places. And what we are seeing now is that Aprilia might just have developed a complete bike. So if that ends up being true, it could be Aprilia's title to lose.
Oh yeah. Well, I think it already is a brilliant out to lose, but I think it's between which ones. I think you could probably more or less count out Aguirre for the championship
Yeah,
just because of not because of lack of skill, definitely not, folks. But because he's not in a factory team, and it's not as if, let's be honest, folks, it's not like how Pramac was to Ducati. It's a I think there's less works bikes going on there.
yeah,
Yes, they're 2026 Aprilias. They've said that, but there's less support there. So yes, I think I agree. It might even win a race this year. Might even win two. But it's between the two factory Aprilias, I would say already. What we need to
yeah.
watch out for is when Mark comes back. Because if Mark comes back after Catalonia and he's feeling good and this screw is out of the way and it hasn't done any nerve damage or anything like that, then Mark, look, after Catalonia, folks, he's looking to be 90 to 100 points behind championship leaders, unless they've been it in Catalonia. He's already 70 back now. So yeah, Mark's going to play a championship. He's going to be a key figure in the championship. Isn't like interfering with it, I think. Unless he comes back and starts winning, 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 then he will catch past, which might happen. He still might happen. It is Mark after all. Um, but I can see it coming between those two. And there might be days where Jorge bins it and Bez wins, and then you've got that whole teammate thing going on again, which we haven't seen for years. But the way that Martin passed Bez in the race was actually not. He wasn't actually that close, Caleb. He actually was about 4 or 5 bike lengths back, and he just thought, no, he just oozed confidence in that race. He looked so
Ye-
confident, and sometimes I was worried he was going to top the front. Because I thought he's
Yeah.
going so deep into garage there, into the first sequence of corners. I thought, oh, he's, do you know what, Jorge, you can just win this race. Just calm down. And he could put it anyway. Threw it in everywhere and stuck. And that pass on Bears was aggressive, but it meant business. And he didn't hit him. It was a clean pass in the end. But I did think for a second, oh, that's far back. Um, but yeah, he means absolute business, and I do hope that Bez immediately, when he can, if he's got the tires left in a race, he fights back.
Yeah.
Do you think he's got it in him to fight back as much as
Yeah.
Martinez?
I absolutely think Bez has it in him to fight back because I think by his very nature, he has a tinge of aggression to his riding. So I definitely think he has it in him to fight back. I have no doubts about that at all. I just think on Sunday in Le Mans, Jorge Martin was as close to being untouchable as he's ever been in any race he's ever won. I mean, if you look at the way he stormed through the field on his way to catching Bezzecchi, he looked like a rider possessed. And there was only like even when he was sort of going through, and you thought he's going too fast, he's got to bend this at some point. I
Yeah,
looked at Jorge Martin and I thought he's going to do him here. He's going to catch him because
yeah,
he just had all the flow and all the speed and all the momentum. And even when he eventually dived sort of down the inside to get past Bezecchi, even though he took him from downtown, in a weird way, I always knew he was never going to hit him because he was just in such a flow state that you thought, yeah, he's got him here. He's just got him. He has the pace. He's saying, get out of my way. Let me get past and let me do this. And he
yeah,
did that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I just think for sort of one lap pace or sort of like 3 lap pace like that, Jorge Martin is among the most incredible people to watch doing that
Yeah,
because
he is.
when he puts it all together, it's just poetry in motion.
He isn't the smoothest rider, but I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, it's hard to define almost.
Yeah, yeah, because he actually is quite aggressive, but it is exciting to watch. It's not like the dirty riding style that Casey had. Um, at times, and Mark has when the
Yeah,
bike is loose. But before Mark got on a Desmo to DTGP 23, 24, 25, 26, before Mark got on any of those bikes, where you had to sort of adjust slightly, Mark could ride really dirty, I always call it, because the back end's backing. Martin's a bit like that in different ways, though, isn't he? It's his exit of corners as well. It's not just the entrance, the exit of corners. But
yeah.
yeah, he just, it's almost like he gets locked on. He got locked on in Le Mans, and he wasn't going to lose that race. He just wasn't going to lose it
No, yeah,
unless he crashed. speaking of speaking of crashing, we got to talk about Mark, Keelin. Properly talk about Mark. A really bizarrely bad weekend. I was watching. I know we plug TNT, folks, but it's only because obviously that's the broadcast from the UK. I know, and they were all playing down Mark. Oh, Mark. We all were like not having a good weekend. Really slow, no feel. And then I think Susie Perry said, "We he might just prove us wrong in Q1. He might just prove us wrong right now, might he?" And he actually did. He smashed the absolute circuit qualifying record by I think it was just under a tenth. But Pecco's face was a picture alongside
oh
Davide
yeah, it
Tardozzi
was.
with the replay. And Mark, thing is, Mark couldn't replicate it. He immediately said to Davide Tardozzi, I can't, I don't know how I did that. I can't do it again. I literally don't know how I did that. And he got through to Q2 because, oh, well, clearly he did because no one was going to get near that in Q1. And then got through. Not a bad qualifying in the end on a Q2, but I just feel so sorry for him in the sprint. Nothing really. He just kept going backwards and getting swallowed up, which isn't Mark. And then that crash, I immediately knew that he'd broken something, or
Yeah.
something was going to, or something. The way his body language was, I thought that's him for done for Sunday. He just won't do it. And what were your immediate thoughts on that, Keelan? And what are you thinking about this reoccurring? Because obviously, come from Indonesia with a crash with Bez as well, so it all derives from that. What are your thoughts about this whole situation?
Right. So I'm really glad we're talking about this because there's quite a few important points to be made here. First of all, obviously we're all in social media, we're all contributing, we're all active, and we're all aware. Everybody who knows me knows I'm not the biggest Marc Marquez fan for a variety of reasons. I'm just not. But if you're celebrating a rider being injured, there's something wrong with you, and you need to seriously reassess where your head's at. Because that just the amount of gloating that I saw about a guy having a broken metatarsal was just messed up, and we don't need it, and we don't want to see it. Now, what's interesting about this is, again, shout out TNT. We have to keep plugging them because that's what we watch. When I was watching the sprint, the first thing I saw was that Marquez had washed out on his bike. And with the camera angle, we didn't see the high side in the first shot. We just saw that he'd washed out. So I thought, oh, he's tucked the front or he's done something, but whatever, he's fine. And then I slowly saw the destroyed bike, and I thought, okay, he's had a really, really big one here. There's no way he's just tucked the front or washed out. Then we saw the replay of what actually happened. And I know it's expired at the moment, but I actually posted the crash to my Instagram story, and the caption that I put was that it was an evil high side, and that's the only appropriate way I can describe it. It was just an
It was.
evil,
Yeah.
nasty,
Nasty.
horrible horror. That was the stuff of nightmares. That's the sort of thing that keeps you awake at night, I imagine, as a MotoGP rider. You see Mark struggling, he loses the rear grip, the tire grips again, and he doesn't just high side once, he actually high sides
Yeah.
twice. Because the first high side, he lands on top of the seat and he thinks he has it back, and then it throws him off again. He lands bang on the back of his head. In fact, the only thing that went right for Mark in that is that he's actually lucky the bike didn't roll over him and squish him like a big tube of toothpaste.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that actually went right for him. But man, that was a horrible, just a horrendous crash. And to be honest, I'm just glad it's not Jerez 2020. And that sounds like a messed up thing to say,
No,
but I'm
it's
just
not.
glad I'm glad he's all right and that he at least hobbled away from it because I mean, man, look at the damage that guy has sustained throughout his career. I
Mm.
mean, we had Jerez 2020 where he nearly lost his arm and nearly had to have it amputated. He injured it that severely. We've had Indonesia. We've had so many. We had Sepang in, I think, 2019, where he had a horrendous crash after following Fabio around the track. I mean, the amount of damage that guy's body has taken is just not human. And to tell you the truth, this is where I'll sort of end my bit on this. I know there are people out there who live for and love Marc Marquez, and that is totally fine. You're more than entitled to support who you support. But to be honest with you, Jim, my question for Marc Marquez would be, is this 10th title worth it that badly? Is it worth potentially paralyzing yourself and destroying yourself for the rest of your life for? Because look, I don't have the mindset of Marc Marquez. If I did, I'd be Marc Marquez. But, I just don't want to see him injure himself any further. I really don't. And at some point, he has to be wondering whether it's worth it to do this anymore.
Well, I think he might have had a few thoughts like that. Walking or hobbling, limping back to the pits
Yep.
um, on Saturday evening.
Limping out of the Ducati truck.
Yeah, yeah. The thoughts will go through his head. Of course, they will. It's just a natural thing. It's just with regards to carrying on, contracted for this year, he contract for what we understand he's contracted for next year. I mean, I think that it might be the last thing on his mind, to be honest with you. Thing is, if it is something like just obviously that metatarsal that'll fix itself. That'll be fine. That's not something Mark's really injured before, so it's more just the rest. And if he can get back, fine, and then this is fine with the pin or whatever. That's the tricky bit, and it's the drive to want to keep going. Can he do it again? Can he do another season? And to be honest, it's not just the Jerez 2020. It's the ones also that he had to miss. The big one for me, the most spectacular one, was that one in 2022 in Indonesia when he sent it to the moon in morning
Yep.
warm up. That was one of the biggest accidents I've ever seen in my life. Ones like that, he walks away with the marshals. You what? Yeah. Mark's done a ton of those in his career. Um, he's done a ton of them since he even came back from 2020. And having a high side on the way into a corner has always been a sickening ending. guys. Yes, obviously, the high sides got leaving corners are your most stereotypical ones. Of course, they are. It's the classic, if you want to call it classic. But having a high side into, I don't know, I'm giggling. I don't know, having a high side into a corner is disgusting, especially when it,
Yeah.
as Keelin said, it almost did it twice. It gripped again. Obviously, every high side regrips and then comes back on you, but that grip twice, ugly, ugly, ugly. The Caddy is in dire straits right now. That Raptor team. Tell you what, it's good that they've got Didya right now, bringing it home in P4 because otherwise it would have been. Well, to be fair, that last move that Didya put on Acosta made sure that happened. We'll get to that in a minute, actually, because that was quite funny. But yeah, Mark, Mark's gonna miss Catalonia. I think he will win races this year. He hasn't won any races this year. He's only won two sprint. No, he's won one sprint, I believe, actually. No, he's won two sprints. He won the Jerez sprint. How can I forget that? And he won the sprint in Brazil. And he had the one he won in Thailand taken off him for putting a certain move on Pedro Acosta. So only three sprint wins. Yeah, two sprint wins. Well, I can't count to three, folks. Anyway, the sprint wins is all he's had this year. So I'm really, really hoping he can get back and mix it all with your Aprilias because that's what it's going to be about. Moving on from there, his teammate, Keelin, Pecco Bagnaia, had a perfect chance, for goodness sake, to pick up a P2 or a P3 because he probably was, let's say he didn't crash. He probably could have set up for third and he didn't. And that's daft because, I mean, yeah, okay. Sometimes these prototypes, you can tuck the front and not know why it happened. But it does keep happening for Pecco, doesn't it? He does keep doing this. Many other riders on the GP26 aren't doing that. Um, Kyle would think that was a missed opportunity to get 20 points to Mark's. At least get one up on your teammate or 20 up on your teammate, shall we say? And then knowing he's going to miss Catalonia, capitalise on that as well. Which I'm just really frustrated for Pecco, who looked like the old Pecco again, pole position. I thought, for goodness sake, this could be Pecco's weekend. What were your thoughts? Were you disappointed in Pecco? What were your thoughts on this lackluster sort of Sunday he's had?
Oh yeah, I was very disappointed with Pecco, and I was disappointed for Pecco, I should also say, because like you said, getting pole position, looking like the Pecco Bagnaia of old, and then it's
Yeah,
the same old story with Pecco and this damn Ducati. He just cannot get it over the line. It's bizarre. He's either at the front and he's crashing, or he's finishing at the foot of the table. It really is quite bizarre at this point. And I think the there was two telling shots that you should see that tells the story. I don't know if you've had the chance to see them, but I'll explain them very quickly. Someone got fan footage of Pecco when he crashed, and there's a video of him. I'm sure you've probably seen it, Jim. And he basically walks away from the bike and he kicks the safety bollards twice before getting on the safety scooter to go back to the
yeah,
pits. And that kind of tells its own story. Then there's the footage of when Pecco crashed, the camera on Davide Tardozzi in pit lane, and I don't know if he threw the headset, but he definitely like took the headset off really quickly, looked really fed up, looked really exasperated. And I think that kind of tells the story of what's going on with this whole
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Everybody I think is just fed up on that side of the garage. Pecco can't understand why he's won the world title twice and now he can't win a thing on the bike. Ducati doesn't understand why he can't get it together when he's won the title twice with them. And I think overall what you're seeing, unfortunately, in real time is you're seeing a once brilliant relationship come to a quite sad end, unfortunately. And I just think that's what the story of this is going to be.
Oh, oh, it is sad, isn't it? The sort of protege of Rossi and Ducati's golden
Ducati's
boy.
golden boy.
Yeah, yeah. And he was probably he kicked. I don't know what the first thing he was kicked. The second thing was definitely a cone and it hit the marshal, I think, or hit towards the marshal. I don't think he meant to do it like that. But yeah, he's getting people trying to cancel him in for it. And yes, marshals. You cannot go race without marshals. I get it. Of course you can't. I don't think Pecco meant to kick it at the marshal. Like I don't like you. I think he was just that pissed off at himself. But yeah, just watch it. I think maybe the FIM commercial rights holders, Liberty might say something because obviously it was caught. Everything's caught on camera these days, even though that was obviously someone's amateur footage, I think, or was it TV footage as well? So yeah, just watch that to a degree. But it's only human nature. I think he's just really pissed off at the situation himself, knowing that there were 20 points or maybe 16, 18 points that he could have had, and he threw down the drain again. So that is Jerez, right? Double DNF for the factory team. Yes, and
Yes.
a did not start for Marc on Sunday in Le Mans, and a DNF for Pecco for the works Lenovo Ducati factory team. I mean, you could not make that up, folks. That's
Try
bad.
telling someone that 2 years ago, they would never
Yeah,
have believed you.
no, no, it's crazy. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to talk about this really, folks. It's got lots of notes to still get through, but at the same time, there's talk that Martin has not necessarily done it. I don't know if that's Rivella just trying to hang on to anything he might be able to get get through with lawyers and that. But if they can keep Martin because they're happy now, where the hell would Pecco go if Pedro Costa's going to Ducati? Oh,
God, that is
and then you've got
shit.
Pecco.
That's a good question.
Where does he go? Where does a two-time MotoGP World Champion like scrambling for a ride? Oh, is there any room at Tech 3 Honda next year? That might happen. It's like, yeah. Anyway, that could be for another day because from what we've heard, he has signed for Aprilia. So I think Pecco's lawyers would get involved. Yeah, but I hope it's not that in his head, that situation, because if you are signed for next year, you've not really got anything to lose other than go for it, have you? On track, obviously, instinctively you want to do well if you want to finish races, but yeah, really, really sad for Pecco, and but at the same time, not good enough, frankly, especially when Digia is finishing, he's getting podiums week in, week out, or fighting for podiums at least as well, and sprint wins. So I don't really think they can blame the equipment just yet. It's just they haven't got the best equipment anymore with the Ducatis. Um, don't really think finished fully on Iagura a minute ago because me and you wanted to speak about something, didn't we? Regarding English speaking language after the
Yes, we
race
did.
in the Parc Ferme car that takes them from the track to, well, after the press conference around from the podium and vice versa. And I think that triggered a few things because he was, am I supposed to speak English? How can we speak English? Because I need to learn Italian and Spanish. And obviously, Jorge Martin says, no, we can speak English. And then I think Bez would say, we have to speak English. I don't know why I said that because they're known to speak Italian or Spanish quite often in that car, that Parc Ferme shuttle car. And we have to have subtitles. But it came to my head again that people say, oh, let them speak their native language. This is bike racing. This is the countries they come from. I tell you my view before, and I know you've got a strong view on this as well, Keelin, and you want to talk about other people's views too.
Hmm.
To me, yes, their native language should be to their team and all that. But we live in a world now where MotoGP is trying to grow. It's trying to grow and grow and grow. And now Liberty own the sport. They should be using that to, these riders should now be, they should be speaking better English. And I'll tell you why. If you broadcast into all these British channels, and they need to be speaking English that isn't just too generic. It needs to be a bit more intricate. Okay, one of the English. It is one of the main languages in the world. It just is. It's a matter of fact. And some riders like an Air Bastianini, the English is quite poor, frankly. And we love an Air, but the English is just not there. It's not good enough, frankly, at this level. Especially if the sport's trying to grow to a global audience, a broader audience. It needs to be better. I get that. At the same time, I like the Italian language. I love it. It's just natural because it's their native language, native tongue. Spanish as well. But where do you draw the line, Keelan?
Yeah, this is quite a controversial topic because it's a very nationalistic topic, really, in some ways. And I mean, I am really sort of on the fence about this. And like, as an Irishman myself, far be it from me to tell anybody not to speak their native language. I think Japanese is a very nice language, actually, to listen to. I think Italian is a beautiful language. I think Spanish is a brilliant language. But the problem that exists and the reality that Europeans have to face is whether you like it, whether you hate it, whether you sit in the fence about it, the most commonly spoken planet on God's earth is English. And unfortunately, whether it's right or it's wrong, you are not going to grow as an organization and as a sport if you can't speak it. Now, if you look at F1, for example, and the reason why things like Drive to Survive get the numbers of views in the billions that they do is because pretty much every single driver in the championship that I'm aware of can speak a very respectable level of
Very good English.
English, and that
Very good
and
English.
and that I mean, even people like Flavio Briatore can speak English to a pretty good standard, and that's why it's as big as it is. Now, the thing is for these riders is, and to be fair, some of them embrace it. Valentino Rossi embraced it in the 90s. That's why he became a global icon. Some riders, I think, are very good at embracing it. Like, I think Pedro Acosta speaks very good English, for example. And then
Yeah,
you've got
he does.
riders with the utmost of respect, like Enea Bastianini and others, who certainly don't prioritize it as much as other riders do. The reason that I wanted to talk about this as well is because I know there's a couple of journalists in the paddock from our side of the world, namely the likes of Matt Oxley and Simon Patterson, to name but two, who are quite, for lack of a better term, they're quite frustrated with the situation because they have to wait on riders to do interviews in their language and communications in their language with team members and other journalists and stuff, and they feel like they're left waiting as sort of an afterthought to do sort of like English communications and
Yeah,
English interviews and such.
not good enough.
And I don't think it's good enough, and I also do think that Liberty Media, Dorna in Disguise, MotoGP Entertainment Group, whatever name they go by, I do think having a universal emphasis on a certain standard of English would help everybody. I think it would help the sport grow as a whole. I think it would help put the riders at ease a lot more because they're not worrying about how to speak and not speaking out of turn and all this kind of stuff. And clearly, the people working in the paddock as media, they would be happier with it as well. But I think personally, and I'll end with this, this is just my own personal opinion. I do think as English speaking people, we also could make a much greater effort to make those people feel welcome. You know, speaking certain levels of Spanish and Italian and whatever other languages, maybe German for people who work for KTM. I think having a working knowledge of other people's languages could make it easier and more embracing for them to learn English. And I'll explain what I mean. I'll give you a very quick example.
Hmm.
For anybody under the age of 40, you might not know who Barry Sheen was. Probably Britain's greatest ever motorcycling export, arguably. Barry Sheen spoke fluent English when he competed in the World Championships as it was back then, because it was better to build relations with the media. He could communicate with his mechanics perfectly and all that kind of stuff. And I say all that to say this. Yes, English is important, and it is important that everybody can speak it to a certain standard. But you know what? Let's show some goodwill maybe sometimes and go the other way and try to ingratiate ourselves with them as well. Because if we all work together, we all will get better at it. And making the paddock a place where people feel like they can learn, that could be a very good thing.
Yeah, I think it's important to do it. Yeah, do that as well. It's just that MotoGP isn't used to that sort of thing yet, I don't think, is it really?
Yeah.
I think it's trained the riders, the organisations have trained the riders to speak very basic English, I think. And from what this is a guess, folks, from watching it non-stop for the last 20, 25, 26 years, um, the very intelligent riders seem to be the ones that, funnily enough, speak the better English. The better riders, maybe it's because they have to speak more English because more media wants to speak to them. um, but the ones that speak, I seem to feel like the Marini and your Acosta, the fast, intelligent ones, and Mark and Valentino, their English is always better. It could be, yeah, a little bit like there's more media attention, but Marini there probably isn't. But then that means that the people around them just need more English lessons potentially, because you cannot have top journalists as the ones like the ones you mentioned, being left out when the people that listen to them is just as much, sometimes if not more, than some of the smaller Spanish Italian outlets that aren't maybe Sky Sports Italia, that maybe aren't Daz in Spain, but they get first dibs because they're about to ask something in Spanish or Italian. It's not really, it's not good going forward. It's not progressing how Liberty will want either. Liberty will want all these riders speaking perfect English. You realise that? Because that's what
Oh, for
F1 drivers
sure
have.
they will.
It's what F1 drivers have always done. And I think Liberty will want MotoGP riders to step up again Yeah. I know people.
Yeah,
I see it every day. Every day about something. There's someone blaming Liberty or bitching about Liberty. They'll ruin MotoGP. The bits that you'll miss that they might do. There's other bits that need to be changed and need to be expanded and broadened and to grow, folks. It just has to happen. Um, so yeah, that's a rant we both wanted to do. And I was thinking about it the other week again, actually. Just hearing an interview, thinking that's too basic. You know what I mean? That's just like we could have guessed you'd say that. We could literally have guessed you'd have said what you just said. Um,
yeah.
nothing in there was, oh, that was so and so definitely telling us something, how he really feels. It was just generic. I really hope I can be up front. Like, what was the point in the interview? You know what I mean? In Moto 3 and Moto 2, they should be learning better English, but it's too late by the time to get MotoGP. There's too much to do, probably. So, well, like, great. You want to do well in the race? No, I had no idea. Like,
We get it. We know you're very happy.
all that, yeah. After I say, I'm really happy with that P3. Yeah. But they don't say it as
I'm
fast as
very,
that either. They have to think about it. Bless them. But
yeah.
yeah, it's something that has to improve in the coming years. Moving on from this, because still got some notes to go through and some segments to go through, I should say. Um, Pedro Costa, didn't. I felt like he couldn't do anything else this weekend. Felt like that was absolutely the best he could do with the equipment underneath it. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. I don't need to spend a whole lot of time on this. I think Pedro gave as good as he could, and I think that result was the best that he could have done, to be honest. He struggled in sections, he looked really good in other sections. And to be honest, I think the story of Pedro Acosta for 2026 is going to be he did the best that he could with what he was given because I think he's riding it to the limit. I really do.
I mean, you look at the other KTM's. I was saying to Kate, I was saying the same about Fabio. Okay, watching the races. Look where the Yamahas are. Look where Fabio is. Look where Pedro is compared to the KTM's. There's nothing more he could do really. I genuinely thought that he would hang on to P4. I thought he had that in the bag, and then did Gian Antonio puts that move on him? I wouldn't say catch him napping, but might as well have done. And then turns round, coming out the last corner, and looks at him twice. Pedro isn't too best pleased about that. Even though Pedro loves a good battle more than anyone, but I don't think there's something about the way that Digi looked as he blasted him over the line. He saw Pedro and thought, "Now I'm going to look at you twice." Well, I've never seen that before. Well, I haven't seen that sort of patronising or antagonising sort of sarcastic look for a long time in race. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing those two next to each other on track. Because I think Fabio Di Giannantonio better watch out. Because he might hear some Jaws music. But that was, I saw God, that's a Kate. I was like, what's he doing? What was that? I don't know why it's almost like they've had like an altercation on the track and we missed it. But I think he was just so impressed with his own overtake, he just thought, you know what, I'm going to look at you as well. But yeah, for the fair play to Digi, bringing it home from P4. And you know what? In terms of the championship, folks, Gian Antonio, I know he's P3, but yeah, 84 points, 44 points behind um, Bez. So not a million miles away. Maybe the Ducati course will start giving him some of the factory bits before Marc and Pecco at this rate. Um, watch it. Moving on to I mean, Zarco and Fabio's efforts this weekend were pretty good, considering that the Honda's um, a solid package this year. Probably the third or fourth best bike, I would say. Zarco had a really, really good weekend and topped the second practice session on Friday, which sent the crowd into a nice little frenzy. But it didn't work out for him in qualifying, sadly. And that was it, really. Yeah, if you don't qualify in those two front rows, you kind of sod it. So that was unfortunate for Zarco. Fabio, though, we just touched on him briefly, I know before. So that Yamaha V4 has now got its old aero on, as we said last week it would do because of the
Yep.
testing pictures we all saw. So we had that whole front wing on it from last year, but now with a V4 engine. And it worked quite well. I think it was definitely 2 tenths ahead of what it would have been, as we thought it might be. That surely was the best Fabio could do. I mean, the fact he was a P3 in that race for ages, Keelin.
Yeah, listen, I don't want to be overly dramatic here because people can sort of get quite carried away a little bit at times. I'm talking about myself, but what Fabio did at times on Sunday was pretty much little short of heroics, really. That's the best way I can put it. Because if you think about how bad that Yamaha is, that Yamaha V4, that they've had to go back to stick old aero on a new package and a new engine. And Fabio is still, he's a bit like the sort of Spider-Man meme of Peter Parker holding the train back by himself. He's sort of getting torn into pieces trying to keep Yamaha together single-handedly.
And I
I
love that
mean,
analogy.
yeah, one thing about us folks that you'll know by now is we do have one hell of an analogy anytime we talk about something, namely me.
I think
But
so, definitely you
I
more than
mean,
me.
yeah, I just what I love about Fabio is I still think outside of a peak Marc Marquez, I still think Fabio is the most talented rider on the MotoGP grid. I really do. I mean, in my eyes, he will go down in history for winning a world title on a Yamaha M1. It's still superhuman that he managed to do that. And if you look at the fact that he is single-handedly keeping Yamaha relevant really in this season, I mean, that tells you all you need to know. And that is
Mm.
why they threw a truck. That's why they threw a truckload of money at him to get him to sign a year or two ago, because he is probably the best rider on the grid. Could you imagine? Let me put it to you this way, people, in case you think I'm blowing this out of proportion. Take Fabio, put him on that Aprilia. What does it look like then? Put him on that Ducati. What does it look like then? And now you have your answer as to why I like Fabio Quartararo so much. He is keeping Yamaha from sinking single-handedly.
It has been for the last 3 years, more or less. I think the year before last was particularly bad for Fabio and Yamaha
Yeah.
in general. Last year they had that bike that was unbelievably good in Fabio's hands in qualifying and in races now and again. That last year's M1, the last ever in line for, was a brilliant MAF bike. It was probably the best inline four that could be built because it smashed 3 pole records and I think still holds the RF1. I'll be wrong there, but Mark managed to smash the Le Mans one. But yeah, I can understand why they put that aero on it um, for the V4, and it did help a bit. But yeah, I think you're right. Fabio with Yamaha again. I mean, what we're way down the order. There was a moment in that race where the Yamahas were 15, 16, 17, I think as well. So tough times for them. I just hope there's a new engine soon. A new engine like before we found 10 horsepower. Like, you bloody need it, guys. You need it. I'm pretty sure TNT were reporting a couple of times, and not just TNT, 8 miles per hour we're hearing down on the straights from other
Yep.
V4s. 8 miles an hour. So that means Fabio and co have to brake later just to make up for the fact that what they've just lost on the straights. Just for that. And then obviously you're playing catch up, trying to block everyone behind you, and everything you're doing is overriding. So yeah, I mean, Fabio is brilliant with corner speed, so that's why he was making it up and getting straight to Q2. Don't forget, folks, Alex Rins got straight to Q2. I remember watching it thinking, so fair play to Alex Rins actually for getting straight to Q2 because I don't think enough people were praising Alex for that. So yeah, and I think he had the same aero as well on the front end of the M1. So that might be a trick going forward. They will struggle on that straight in Catalonia though. That is a much bigger straight than Le Mans has. I don't know any of the Le Mans straights. So yeah, I think they'll struggle there, but we'll see what happens. I think that's pretty much MotoGP wrapped up, folks. We'll briefly touch on Moto2, Moto3 before we wrap up. Izan Guevara dominated that race, and obviously that was restarted that Moto2 race, Keelan. And both starts,
Yes.
he was gone. I don't think anyone was going to touch Izan Guevara. Um, really looks like that Bottas Cura is his now. Absolutely planted on that. I mean, he won Valencia last year, and he's got a pole, and he was always going to win this race by the looks of it. This is coming at a very important time for him when he's obviously rumored already to go to Pramac Yamaha next year. And then there's obviously the rumors about Senna Aegis maybe getting a ride. He couldn't have timed this any better, mate.
Yeah, I mean, this was really the ultimate timing for Isan Guevara. And like you said, I was actually going to make this point, but I'm glad you pointed it out. that Boscoscuro chassis looks like it was designed for Izan Guevara. It looks like it was tailored for
It does
Izan
look like a good
Guevara.
fit for him, doesn't it? Yes, yeah,
It looks like an unbelievable fit. And like you said, they could have restarted that race 100 times, and I
yeah,
think Izan Guevara would have won it all 100 times because I just think it was his form on the day at the right track at the right time. I just think Izan Guevara was in a league of his own. And to be honest, I'm really glad to see it because I feel like Izan Guevara does get a little bit forgotten about, when you consider
yeah,
how good he actually is.
yeah.
But that performance on Saturday was a Sunday, sorry, that performance was amazing. I thought he was brilliant, and it was so impressive to see him dominate in such a comprehensive way. I thought he was unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't think the gap was coming down at any one point for Manu, who was basically holding back the rest of everyone else. But Manu are taking a well-earned second place. Looking at the results of that Moto2 race, folks, yeah, Manu was always going to, even on Ortola, great P3. It's about time we saw more of it. Ortola doing well. Lopez, again, he's been crashing a lot recently, so P4 for him, brilliant. And David Alonso, well, everyone's favourite for the championship this year. I think I can safely say that. That campaign probably has to start soon. Same for his teammate Danny Holgado, who looked like he took over the reins in favour of the championship, and now he's well over 40 points back now. So both of these Aspar boys in Moto2 need to get a move on. They really do, because otherwise, guys, Guevara and Gonzalez, if they stay at the front, it's gonna be difficult to catch them. And obviously they don't have sprint races, so it's hard to make up the points. But Senna Aegis will come back again. I think Senna's probably a little more inconsistent than everyone else who's winning races. But Senna's the only person that's won more than one race this year. So yeah, we'll see. It's still early days, isn't it, mate? But I think Holgado will still have many races where he dominates. And you're going to get wins from Alonso. The interesting thing is that Pramac seat is now up for grabs properly. Because Guevara obviously is already in the Pramac squad. So it's only a natural progression for him to move up, Keelin. What would you do? Again, I'm always putting Keelin on the spot. I know this. I don't care. Um, what would you do? You've got Guevara, who is arguably maybe a generational talent, if you remember that 22 by 3 season. Most of us do. But you've got Aegis, who's won more races. He's got won 4 races in 12 months to Guevara's 2 wins in 3 years. What do you do?
I mean, if it's me and if I were a team principal, which would be amazing to begin with, but if I were a team principal, for me personally, I'm promoting Senna Aegis for two reasons. First of all, he's Australian, promotion, blah, 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 all the stuff we talked about before. Engaging in passport politics, it's wrong, I know, but you do what you do. I would promote him for that reason, number one. Number two, I've seen more from Senna Aegis in Moto2 than I have from Izan Guevara. And whether it's
Yeah,
right or it's
yeah.
wrong or it's this or it's that, Senna Aegis is showing me more. He's showing me what he can do. He's putting on a show at times when he can. And I'm seeing the talent shine through. And I'm seeing the riding style, the confidence, the ability. I'm seeing all that transition to working very well on a MotoGP. Well, not a Yamaha setup, but definitely a MotoGP setup. I can see the vision with Senna Aegis more than I can see it with Izan Guevara. So if you were asking Keelan McNamara, team principal, who you're promoting tomorrow, I'm promoting Senna Aegis.
There we go then. There we go. There might be a way that Keelan McNamara can hire his Moto2 rider to go MotoGP, and then Senna Aegis can maybe find a MotoGP ride elsewhere. I'm not sure how that'll fit in though, because at this rate, folks, we've got Holgado going to Gresini Ducati, we've got David Alonso going to the full factory HRC Honda team, and then you'd have Guevara going to Pramac Yamaha, and then where would Senna go? So yeah, you got to sacrifice. I'm guessing you got to sacrifice Vinales, Brad Binder, Alex Rins. You're going to lose some big names, folks. Rins will probably end up going anyway. But Bastianini will be at Gresini Ducati level too. So yeah, unless the weren't going to talk about this, but unless the Aspar thing happens in 2027, but it doesn't look like it'll be ready in time, Keelan. Is that the latest you heard? Because the latest I heard from the race was that it won't be ready for 2027.
Yeah, so folks, basically what we're talking about is the latest rumor we've heard is that Aspar basically wants to take they want to take satellite bikes from KTM for 2027, and they basically want to add two more spots onto the grid that I think were reserved for Suzuki if they ever returned. I think I have
Yes,
that
well,
right.
it was those two slots were reserved for a factory. So when
Yeah,
Suzuki
that's right.
left, they wouldn't allow any team, new teams come in as a satellite team, leasing two more bikes from the current existing manufacturers. That two slots 23 and 24 were for a new factory. Just carry on.
Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, they're basically what I heard was I haven't heard any developments since this could have changed. My understanding is that the Aspar team CEO, I think his name's David Martinez. I hope I don't have that wrong. But the team CEO apparently wants to take on those two grid spots as satellite grid spots for an Aspar team running KTM machinery. Now, if that is true and if that is what happens, that would be very, very interesting because obviously it's two more seats that could pretty much go anywhere. Most likely we know who they would go to, but it would put a lot of
Yeah,
people back in the mix again to stay in MotoGP who are
yeah,
currently are in MotoGP. But it would be really, really interesting for sure. I mean, listen, I know we've talked about this before, and I'll say this briefly. If it were me in the dream world, I would love to have Suzuki, Kawasaki, and BMW as factories on the MotoGP grid. Now that will obviously never happen for a lot of different reasons. But if we, I mean, two more grids, there should be more bikes on the grid anyway with different teams. So two more spots taken up, I think, would be a very good thing regardless. And
oh yeah.
having Aspar back in MotoGP, I think would be great.
It would just make the grid feel more complete, wouldn't it?
It
Having
would,
arguably one of the
yeah,
most organised, biggest teams in MotoGP, but the MotoGP paddock is Aspar, unless of course you tune in, you're listening to MotoGP, fine. But Aspar is one of the biggest teams, and they literally have a team in everything but MotoGP. If they
it's one of
had
the
a
most
team in,
iconic
yeah,
names.
yeah, it is, yeah. If they were allowed a team in Red Bull rookies, they probably would they'd have one. They've got a team in everything leading up to MotoGP, more or less. Honestly,
Yeah,
his outfit is outstanding, and it's drenched in heavy sponsorship.
yeah,
Great
it
support
is.
from KTM as well. So obviously that tying with CF Moto would be brilliant. It's probably a bit soon. Um, that's all for 2027. But going forward, I think if CF Moto are serious, which it looks like they are, I wouldn't even waste time on World Superbikes. I've said this before or on socials. I don't understand the talk about CF Moto trying to go to World Superbikes. I don't understand the point in it. It's not a world championship anymore. They go to Phillip Island once a year. The rest is all mainland Europe. It's not really a World Series. If you're going to start spending money on marketing and racing, Liberty now and MotoGP. Okay, you've got massive names in MotoGP now. It is growing. Get CF Moto. You've got that Chinese manufacturer have money. Start developing an 850 now. Throw gazillions at it.
Yeah,
Um, that's what I'd do. I think the idea was to lease a 2027 850 KTM, wasn't it? And then while they develop
yeah,
their own 850. Yeah, that was the idea, but I
yeah.
think it might be another year down the line, even that. So we'll see. But yeah, that'd be great. I think honestly, we need two more bikes in the grid anyway, because there's a lot of riders that have missed out on rides moving up the last few years. I think there was a couple, 2 or 3 years where only one rider came up from Moto 2. It's always nice if you get a couple, because then you get that Rookie of the Year prize that actually bloody means something, not just handing
I
it to
agree.
Acosta or Augusto Fernandez just because they're the only one there. So yeah, ran over about that one. We'll see how that progresses. Moto 3, real quick. Max Keyless, goodness sake, man. Wet conditions, mixed conditions, dry conditions. It's reminding me a lot of Alonso, but he's winning by bigger margins than David Alonso was. Max Keyless is pretty much, I think he's Jorge Martinez Aspar was saying he's already pretty much confirmed to be the Moto 2 Aspar squad next year. What a life he's having right now. He can't put a foot wrong, and the competition just keep messing up. Not taking that away from him, but I don't really see anyone else winning the Moto3 World Championship this year.
No, listen, I mean, barring a monumentally bad turn of form, a typhoon on the track, or something equally as extreme, I don't see who's touching Max Keeles. I really don't. This kid he might be the most impressive talent I've seen since Pedro Acosta. And believe me, that is high praise I am giving Max Keeles. I mean, like you just said, it doesn't matter what condition he's in. It could be wet, it could be dry, the sun could be splitting the trees and coming down through the sky. It doesn't matter what condition Max Keeles is in. He dominates all of it. He is perfect in all of it. And listen, he's going to Moto 2. He could very well win the Moto 2 title as well. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
he's just unbelievable. He's just brilliant, and he is going to be in MotoGP in a few years' time. I have very little doubts about that.
yeah. I mean, his height on bigger bikes is going to help as well. If he's this good in a
Yeah.
Moto3 bike and he's not exactly the shortest rider, then yeah, watch out, watch out. And
He
if Manu
reminds
doesn't,
me of So he reminds me of, and this is in no way an insult, it's just the talent that's there. He reminds me of of a better Colin Vire, where the height is going to translate to bigger machinery really, really well.
yeah, yeah, no, I think so. Yeah, we'll know soon enough because he won't be in Moto3 next year. No chance.
No, no way.
There's no point. So yeah, we'll know soon enough from Max Giles. It just I know it's I don't like it when people do this comparison between Acosta and Marquez and Rossi and David Alonso and Max Giles, but he is in there now. Is he as good as Acosta? Probably. Is he as good as Alonso? Probably. I mean, in some regards, Alonso had a better season in Moto3 than Acosta. Mix and matching here because it's different in Moto3 and then Moto2 changes everything. You might have a year where you do nothing in Moto2, where the likes of Acosta straight away was fast in Moto2. Didn't win the title, but he was straight away fast. Um, and I think Alonso was more or less straight away fast. As soon as he recovered from his injury last year, he was straight away. He was fast. So these greats, these riders, everyone hypes up, do eventually they do live up to the hype. It does usually happen. So yeah, I think Keyless will deliver. But just a quick shout out also to the MLab team. And the reason I'm doing that is because both their riders got straight through to Q2. Unfortunate for Kelso in the race, but we did see Eddie O'Shea get his first top 10. And again, the harmony in that team with the new leadership underneath, obviously, the wisdom of Michael Abbott. I'm just so happy a British team is doing well. And they've got a really, really, really good atmosphere in there. I play to them. Casey O'Gorman, we always touching him on every podcast. I wonder why. Yeah, sadly crashed out. Sadly crashed out, but he's a rookie. He's a learning experience for him, and he was up there though. So what we say for Catalonia, because he's definitely been to Catalonia before a few times as Casey in the junior categories. What do we think for next weekend then briefly?
Yeah,
No, yeah, not predicting any other categories, folks. We're not doing
I No, listen, I always have high hopes for Casey wherever he goes because I think, by the way, before I get into Casey, big shout out to MLav, of course, very well deserved. Their form is brilliant and it's really, really great to see. So well done to them. It's very, very, it benefits all of us, believe me. It's really, really good to see. So well done to MLav and their leadership. As far as Casey O'Gorman goes, like, it was disappointing that he crashed out for sure, especially because Casey's a very good wet weather rider, so he was really building positions. He was working his way up the field, and I think he was in P7 or P8 when he crashed out. And that might not sound like the most spectacular thing in the world, but for a Moto3 rookie riding for such a prestigious team, shout out Paolo Simoncelli, to be riding for the Siege 58 squad as a rookie, circling in the top 10, that's a really, really good place to be.
it.
And yes, of course, it was disappointing that Casey crashed out and he
Yeah,
couldn't take advantage of it. But I've got such high hopes for Casey. I think with more experience and more development, I think he's going to do really good things in Moto 3 and hopefully beyond. But as for Catalonia, again, I think he has as good a chance as anybody at being second to Max Keeles because he knows the track. He's been there multiple times now in different championships, and
yeah,
I can see him starting to gel with the machinery and the conditions. And
yeah,
hopefully in Catalonia, he has a great weekend.
yeah. Fingers crossed. And same goes for the likes of Ogden and Rico Salmela,
Of
who
course.
came off, and Buchanan as well. There's a lot of riders that show promise through the weekend, and yet the wet can do that. I did expect more from Scott, truthfully, knowing Scott Ogden in the wet was he's had pole positions in the wet before as Scott Ogden. I did
He
really see him
has.
as a dark horse, and he did well in Argentina 2023, I believe, when he finished P5 in the wet. The point is Ogden's always at the front usually when it's wet, so I expected more from Scott, but he's got a lot of races coming up and tracks he knows with experience. Just hope that the harmony in his team can be maintained and improved as well, because what's happening in his old team looks really promising for the likes of Eddie O'Shea and Joe Calso. So taking it to these mainland European teams is always a good thing. So, folks, thanks for tuning in. This has been a bit of a bumper episode because we love Le Mans, and I made way too many notes. And I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you are watching Catalonia this coming weekend. Again, we don't really do predictions. Might do it in the future. I got tired of being so wrong, didn't you, Keelan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
So,
feeling that gets old quickly, believe me.
so Keelan, thanks for joining as always. I'm sure we'll be this time next week again for the Catalonia Grand Prix review. Thanks, Keelan. Thanks for joining. Thanks, folks.
Jim, pleasure. Thanks, folks. See you next week.